Hey, we are live. This is Hexray Vision from Quattro Cinco Studios at the very special guest, Blue Bum, my friend from down under. How are you doing today, man?
I'm good, man. Just spreading the link around as we went live there. I finally got the YouTube link up and from my subscriptions and hello everyone. Welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me on, Hexray.
Yeah, thank you very much. You know, I was thinking this whole week I've been pretty busy with a bunch of family stuff, but I saw that the Hedron Freeclaim was coming up, and all of my onboards and friends and family, I'm sure, are going to be blowing up my phone. So I thought, let me put together something, anything I can do to at least give them a lifeline and somewhere to start. And I saw your tutorial on how to Freeclaim your Hedron during the bonus phase. So we're going to be playing that here in a second. And the
Hedron launch is just a little over 24 hours away. That video tutorial is only about 4 minutes long, and so people can use that to help them out. It's pretty simple to do, and we can talk through it after if you want. And yeah, do you want to play it?
Yeah, that'll be great. I'm going to try to share it here on my screen. And make sure I got the audio there as well.
I might tweet the link out to the live.
I'm going to go back in and make sure I click that button so they can hear it. There we go.
I can't hear anything. Is that?
Let me see. Maybe I turn it up. Let me try this again. Make sure I got the sound coming through here. All right, share screen. Share system audio. If this doesn't work, then we'll give them the link and make sure they know where to go and watch it. But let's try this right here. All right, so you can see it, right?
Yeah.
Let me know if the sound comes through this time. All right, is it playing the sound yet?
No, I can't. I couldn't hear it through here.
Okay.
I mean, I'm probably hearing the same sound as you.
Yeah. Well, let me do this. We're gonna put this in the we're gonna put this in the comments here. How's that sound? And I'll stop sharing there. There we go. Yeah, I'll put this in the comments here, and we'll definitely put a post to it. But basically, it's a 4-minute tutorial that goes through going into go.hex.com. Is that correct? And connecting it to the website.
I already had it. Yeah, I was on testnet, so I had I made some hex stakes the day before on testnet. I waited for the day to tick over, and then I went on the testnet to get to the Hedron dApp, and I just basically connected my wallet to the dApp. It comes up with all of your stakes there. The ones that you have already in there will be they're called native stakes. And on the far right hand corner, there's a little button, and when you press it, you get the choice of either minting or claiming. And if you want to claim, you just press claim and sign that transaction. I think it's going to cost probably somewhere between $10 and $20. It seems as though the gas prices have been coming down because of the price of ETH has been coming down. It's a bit cheaper now. So I think probably between 10 and $20, and then you've claimed that launch bonus, and you've got 10 days to do it, so there's no rush. If you want to, there's a Hedron YouTube channel, and there's only one video up there at the moment. We'll probably we'll do another live for the launch, but on that YouTube channel, it's me speaking with Alex, and we went through the audit, and we went through every single issue that the audit came up with and how they were resolved. And so we talk in depth about it. It's all claiming and minting is all read only, so that none of your stakes are in danger, none of your hex is in danger, and it's pretty simple. You may as well just claim that launch bonus if anything else. If you do actually want to mint some Hedron, you can mint for how many days served you have in that stake, and that will get you the launch bonus as well. So it's your choice whether you just want to claim and wait to mint, or whether you want to mint some now and then serve more days and mint some later.
Awesome. And what are the implications of minting it later? I know that there's a possible bonus that may be initiated later if the ratio of borrowed Hedron is greater than the Hedron on, backing it up. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. It's called the AMR bonus, the advance to mint ratio. And if there's, like, you have borrowed Hedron and you have mint Hedron that's actually in existence, that has been minted. Because the only way Hedron can be brought into existence is if it's minted. Now, if people are borrowing more Hedron than is actually minted, like if it gets over that kind of 50% ratio, then what happens is the contract triggers an AMR bonus. And on that day, anyone who mints on that day will not only get the normal Hedron that they can mint from those stakes, plus any bonus if they claim or mint during the bonus phase, plus the AMR bonus. And the way it's worked out is, do you want to go into the weeds of how much they can mint?
You know what? I was just, as you were explaining that, I thought to myself, I want to be sending this to people that barely understand a hex stake, right? So just for those that are just tuning in, that just want to get to the tutorial, it's in the comments, and I'm going to add it to the show notes as well later. And that's a 4-minute one that you should be able to follow along once this is live and do it. And the time that you want to do this is about 26 hours from now, right? So if you're
25 and a half. Yeah.
So as today rolls over, it's going to be 24 hours from that time, right? So like I was saying, and we got and I also need to introduce my brother here. This is Hex Goosink in the studio today, and we have another awesome guest here, David Feeder, joining the stream. It's great to have you. Yeah. So like I said, if you just wanted to click on this video to figure out how to claim or mint your Hedron bonus, we're going to have that link. That's a 4-minute tutorial that's really straightforward for the new people or anyone that wants to claim it. And now we can rewind. Let's go all the way back to anyone that's brand new to Hedron, that's a Hexagon or understands Hex. We're going to assume that people know what a Hex stake is and that they have a Hex stake. Other than that, let's assume they don't know anything at all about Hedron. And so let's just go really quickly over what Hedron is, what it does, and then we can go into the staking and minting and the deeper stuff. So do you want to cover that, Blue Bum?
Okay. So Hedron is a contract which is built on top of Hex. Hedron can't exist without Hex. And the way, when you make a Hex stake, what you're actually doing is you're burning the Hex and in replacement, you're getting shares. We often call them T shares, which stands for 1 trillion shares. But you could also call them B shares, 1 billion shares, depending on how many you have. Or you could call them M shares. So Hedron is a token. It's just going to be like an ERC20 token, just like Hex. And the way you get Hedron tokens is by having a Hex stake and minting from that Hex stake. And the amount of Hedron you get is based on how many shares you have and how many days you've served of a stake. That's at the very, very simple level. So the reason we're talking about acting in the first 10 days is because as Hedron contract is launched, there's going to be 100 days of bonuses. For the first 10 days, people are going to get a 10x bonus. The second 10 days, a 9x bonus. The third 10 days, an 8x bonus, and so on until all of that launch bonus is finished. And what you can do by either claiming or minting during this period is attach that bonus to your stake. Now, because it's based on days served, you can always come back and mint more later. So let's say you have a 200-day stake and it's gone 50 days. On that day 50, you can mint 50 days worth of Hedron. Then you can wait longer and you can mint more Hedron. And you can do that as many times until you end the stake. So you could keep minting, or you could just wait and not mint it, and then just mint it right before you end your stake. That's for people who have native stakes, native Hex stakes, like Hex stakes that they've made through the Hex contract up until now.
Can I add one thing too?
Yep.
For if you have a Hex stake that's good accounted right now and just sitting there, but you haven't minted your Hex yet, you'll be able to mint on just good accounted stakes as well.
Exactly. And that's actually one of the things I did. I had a couple of stakes that were coming up, and then when I realized Hedron was going to be coming out, instead of ending them, I ran good accounting to wait, so that when Hedron comes out, I'm going to mint the Hedron from those stakes, and then I'm going to end those stakes to collect my Hex. So that's what happens with native stakes. And in terms of, but then there's other options that you can have if you decide to make a Hex stake through the Hedron contract. So those stakes that you make through the Hedron contract, they're called HSIs, or Hex Stake Instance. And they allow you two other optionalities. One of them is to tokenize the stake, so then you can then attach it to an NFT and send it to another address. So you might do that for security reasons, or you might do it to gift somebody, or just because you want to, let's say you have all of your stakes in one wallet and you just want to spread it out a little bit. What it also allows you to do then is, because you can send it to another address, is that you can sell it, just like you can sell any NFT. And so you could list it on OpenSea and sell it. And so and I think there is going to be other markets. I mean, we've already heard other people planning stuff on Pulse Chain. And so there's going to be like some other markets. And my guess is that they're going to start getting competitive with how much they can offer, because this is going to be I foresee this as being a big market. But anyway, you can sell your stakes. That's one of the options. The other option, which is a much more advanced option, and I wouldn't recommend it until you really know what you're doing, is that you can borrow all of the Hedron that stake will mint in the future. And when you borrow it, you pay back a certain amount of interest every 30 days. If you miss 3 payments, so if you miss 90 days of payments, somebody else can come in and they can pay that borrow off for you. What that does is triggers a 24-hour auction. So people can bid for that liquidated stake. And at the end, if within 5 minutes of that 24 hours, somebody makes a bid, that extends the clock by 5 minutes. So there's a chance that people keep bidding and it keeps getting extended by 5 minutes until someone wins it. Now, all of the Hedron that people are paying back, like in installments, in payment installments from a borrow, or when they win that auction, that's all being burnt. So at the start, there's going to be a lot of Hedron. Obviously, a lot of people have stakes. A lot of people are going to claim and with these bonuses, these massive bonuses, they're going to mint. So there's potentially going to be a lot of Hedron, especially in the early days of Hedron. But then over time, as Hedron gets burnt, there's going to be less and less. You also have to consider that at the moment we're talking about T-shares, and a T-share costs what, like, how much is it now? Does anyone know? It's like maybe 3,000 US or 3,500 US for a T-share. Let's say it's 3,500. That means that a B share is $3.50. And remember that you can mint Hedron based on how many shares you have. And the formula is actually B shares multiplied by days served. So as the price of shares gets more and more expensive, there's going to be less of an ability for people to mint Hedron. And we're talking about this playing out over potentially years. So there's a lot of factors involved. It really does add a whole another level of gameplay onto the Hex game. And in the end, the way to best benefit out of this is just to have Hex stakes. So in that way, I see it being rocket fuel for Hex. And like...
Are you muted, Hex Ray?
Oh, yeah, you're muted.
Yeah, I was muted. Sorry, I was trying to jump in there. I think we've gone over the head of a lot of people so far.
Oh, okay, yeah, I know. It gets very complex very quickly, and
it's beautiful, and I love the way you explain it. But like I said, let's just assume someone has Hex staked and they have some shares, right? Whether they're B shares or T shares or whatever. My understanding is that Alex and some of the people are sitting around saying, man, if we could only have more options with these T shares, just a lot of people will lock up a 5555 stake, and life happens, things happen that they're not planning on happening, or they get hacked, or there's 100 things that could happen that come in between you and that 15-year period. And so they said, well, why wouldn't it be great if we could transfer these T shares and these stakes back and forth, right? And they're also thinking, what if there was a way to extract some of this value without emergency end staking and killing the golden goose, so to speak, right? So
yeah, well, that's
kind of where it came from, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
That idea. And so they put together. So Alex, who is not, he said, "I'll just code it," right? Like, why wouldn't someone just figure out Solidity and code something? And so Alex, in his audacity and beauty, came out and said that he just started coding this. Am I right?
Yeah, pretty much. Like there was an evolution to this coming up, and it's probably better to go and listen to Alex talk about that evolution, because I wasn't there. But yeah, basically, like at the moment, if you've got a Hex stake that's coming out in years' time and you're in desperate need of money, then your only option is to emergency end stake that stake. And there's a very, very heavy penalty that you pay for that. And so there have been, situations that people have described where unforeseen circumstances, and they just had to do it. With Hedron, there's a few more options that they've got now. If they still have that native stake, they could just mint the Hedron from that stake. And, depending on how much money they need, maybe that is enough to get them by in what they wanted. Maybe it's not, who knows? But it gives them that option. If they have an HSI stake, they can also still mint from that if that's enough money to get over that circumstance that they're in. Or they have an option of tokenizing it and selling that whole stake. And so instead of emergency end staking it and all of that Hex being dumped on the market, lowering the price of Hex, that stake is now put up for sale, and the person who buys it as a stake. So they are still locked in for that time period. And they're buying a stake that is worth more, because imagine this. Imagine if you're trying to buy a stake in 2 years' time, and the price of a T-share now has gone up drastically. Now you can be buying that stake from somebody who got in at that early T-share rate. And what that means is that, because the T-shares is how the HEX contract divides out the inflation and penalties every day. So the more shares you have, the more of that inflation / penalties you're getting that is accruing to that address every day. So so people are incentivized to buy these stakes, especially because, if people making HSIs will probably make them for a lengthy period of time. They'll probably make them for the maximum, by and large. Maybe not, who knows? Human behavior, and who knows what happens. But that means that those stakes are attracting the most amount of yield that you could get. And it means that that HEX is locked up for that maximum period of time. And as we know, that the more and more people stake, that HEX gets locked up into the future. If demand is the same or goes up, the HEX price goes up. So, I see this as a win-win for Hexicans. Yeah, and so that people, and then the other option they have is that they could borrow the Hedron that stake will mint, and maybe that gets through them through that temporary moment of liquidity. Like, let's say in 30 days you've got the hospital bill that needs to come up. What you could do is borrow the Hedron, and you know that you have another stake, for instance, that you're going to be minting from, right? So what you could do is you could get an advance on that Hedron, knowing that you can pay it back, use that cash to do whatever you need to do in the real world. And then with that other stake, for instance, you could be minting and paying off the borrow. The other great thing that people don't realize is that it's an advance. It's not really a loan, because after you pay back that Hedron that you've been advanced, you can still go and mint from that stake. So let's say you had a maximum length stake, you borrowed it all, because you can only borrow it all. Let's say you got through your temporary liquidity thing, or you paid it back over time. And let's say you took the whole length of time to pay it back. Once you paid it back, you can go then go and mint all of those days served from that stake. So essentially all you did was pay the interest. And it was like that interest was like a fee to get that money ahead of time.
So it's kind of like a home equity loan, where you can take a home equity loan out for your house from your house's equity and pay it back, and then take another one out and pay it back. But once you mint the Hedron, that's a one-time deal, right? Once you mint them, that's like selling your house, so to speak, right? You're cashing out your Hedron when you mint it.
Yeah, look, I don't really understand home loans very well, so I'm not really sure whether that's a good analogy or not. Maybe other people can chime in there.
Of traditional like 401k might be a better analogy.
Okay.
Where it's like an investment fund for your future, but you could borrow against it and pay it back, and then you still own it. So you're borrowing from yourself from the future. And you have to pay yourself back, but you still get the thing at the end. So yeah, you're about right on with the house too, though. Same thing.
Right, but as long as you don't mint them, you can still do the advance. And then also a stake has to be current, or at least in good accounting, to claim right now. And then in the future, you would be staking through the Hedron platform to take advantage of the advanced, where you can get an advance on your Hedron. That's correct.
Yeah, those two optionalities are when you make a HEX stake through the Hedron contract. For just your native stakes, all you can do is either claim or mint. And there's maybe a little bit of confusion about the difference between claiming and minting. So let's just clarify this. When you run the claim function, what it's doing is attaching the bonus to the stake. You actually don't get any Hedron at that point. You have to go back and you have to mint in order to get the Hedron. Now, that's people running the claim. what they're doing is they're just holding off minting. And they just want to know, they just want to lock in the claim because they don't want to have a whole lot of Hedron sitting in all of their wallets. And they might want to wait for that AMR bonus, or, you know, they might want to just accrue days. And also for, like, I'm not a tax expert, but with that question, how would claiming or reward affect taxes? I can't see how a claim would be a taxable event, because all that is attaching the bonus. It's not actually minting you any new tokens. And then, obviously, I'm not a tax expert, and there's many jurisdictions, but I guess when you mint Hedron, that would be the taxable event, and then when you sell the Hedron, that would be the taxable event.
Yeah, kind of like hitting the good accounting in Hex. So if you hit good accounting on your stake in Hex, you still haven't technically taken possession of your Hex. So there's no tax implications during good accounting or claiming, as far as I understand. I mean, obviously it depends on where you live and things like that, but that you haven't really got the money in your hand at that point.
Yeah, correct.
And we got a lot of questions and a lot of talk. I'm trying to keep everything as basic as possible, but every time you get started on one concept, it just snowballs. There's so much dynamic game theory in this. It's like
You know what it reminds me of?
Yeah.
It's like, have you ever played Settlers of Katan?
Yes, many times.
Okay.
Yes, I love that game. Yeah.
So there was Settlers of Katan, and you had a bit of a learning curve to reading that, but it was pretty kind of basic, right?
Yeah.
But then they came out with Cities and Knights of Katan. Have you ever played that?
I don't have any of the add-ons yet. No.
So that's an add-on, right? So it's the same game, but it's all these other kind of optionalities.
It's like a sideboard, right? Like you attach it to the thing. Yeah.
You can use different maps and stuff like that, but basically, you have like cities and knights, and
adds complexity.
It adds complexity, exactly. And so when you first get that, it's like there's this game that you've been playing that you've kind of got your head around, and you know how to have good strategies in it. Like with Hex, it's pretty simple. You stake long, you wait. You know what I mean? But then, then the new game comes out, and it's like the same game, but with all of these extra kind of things. And so you have to, like, it's a new game to play. And so that old game is still there, and you can still just play that old game if you want. You can just make ladders, or, you know, run your Hex stakes, and you can treat it as like nothing has changed whatsoever. But you're very incentivized to learn this new game, because basically it's essentially free money. Like if you do have a Hex stake, like you have to pay the gas costs for whatever network you're using. And we should say also that once there's the fork happens, I mean, everything gets duplicated exactly. So whatever you've done on the Ethereum chain, there's going to be an exact duplicate on the Pulse chain.
Yeah, and real quick question about the advance. They're saying, what happens if you take out a $10,000 Hedron loan and Hedron is 100x? I believe you're taking out the loan in Hedron, not USD, and you're paying it back in Hedron. So
yeah,
whatever
that's a really good
price does.
And that's a really good danger to point out. If you only have one stake, and you get an advance on all of that Hedron, and let's say that Hedron is worth $1 US, and so you're getting that, and then you change it for US dollars, and you go and you spend it or whatever, and then all of a sudden the price of Hedron does a 10x or 100x, you then have to, and you don't have any Hedron, you're then going to have to go on market and buy that Hedron to pay back that borrow. And so
as you pay it back, it's going to be burnt, which will also continue raising the price of Hedron.
Yeah. So you could get in danger there. That's really something to be really careful of.
Yeah.
And so what a lot of Hedronians have been coming up with, they've been coming up with all sorts of strategies. And one very simple strategy is that you make 2 HSI stakes in that first 10 days. That means that you've attached the 10x bonus to both of those. Or you could just make one and make sure you have another stake. And then if you borrow on that HSI, you know that you have other stakes which can mint Hedron. And so it doesn't matter if Hedron goes massively up in value, you're always going to be able to mint the Hedron from those stakes. And if you make 2 HSI stakes or let's say you have an HSI stake that you borrow off, but you have another stake which has a 10x bonus, when you borrow, you can only borrow the base rate. So if you have one with the 10x bonus attached, you're going to have plenty to be able to pay back that loan. Remembering that every time you run that function, that's going to cost you gas. So
It's still leveraging
that's
it a
something
little
to
bit,
keep in
though.
mind away. Say it again?
You could still have that 10x, but if it goes up 100x, you're still 10x off. You still
No,
watch out for that.
but you always have Hedron to pay it back with.
You're about the other stake, right? Some you haven't minted yet. So you
So
still have to have multiple stakes.
that
to
other
do it.
stake, all of the Hedron you could mint from that, that's also gone up 100x.
So you want to make sure that equal stakes.
Yeah, so you don't have to actually convert back into US dollars.
Right.
You can just mint the Hedron from that stake to pay off that.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so one stake would be
Mitigate
you'd be
it.
sacrificing the Hedron by minting it, which is a one-time deal, and on the other stake, you'd be doing the advanced payback, which is something you can do over and over.
Yeah.
So there's a question though. When you claimed it and you mint it, you can mint it each time the days have been served. Is that correct or not correct?
Yeah, you can like
10 days later you can
mint it. You can wait a
rest
day
of
and you can
it.
mint it the next day, or you
I
can
mean,
wait a
obviously
week.
the gas
and mint it.
fees, but
Every day,
so you
once a day.
You can come back and do that. Okay. So I was like, because I thought once you ended it or minted it, it was done. It was minted. You couldn't mint later on. That stake was done. And some of those 15 years, you do it at 5 instead of 10 years into it. That's a lot of Hedron missing. So that's why I was curious. Okay.
It'll be cool for Pulse Chain because the gas will be so cheap. You can pretty much go to the Hedron website daily, and you could probably mint all your Hedron for a fraction of a penny, right? Versus on Ethereum, if you went every day to go mint, it's like $50, $50. Like it eats gas. So, Pulse Chain will be. I think Hedron on Pulse Chain will be even better.
Yeah, I wonder what the differences in the value of Hedron on Pulse compared to the value of Hedron on Ethereum will be, just for that fact alone. That
Used
people
more,
would be able
minted
to.
more, right?
Yeah, I think a
mint
lot of
more.
coins are going to go up because of that. Like
Well,
Hex,
there'll
Hedron.
be different minting amounts and different burning amounts on the two different chains, the two different networks.
Just like hex things, all things are going to change differently.
Yeah, maybe no one mints on the Ethereum chain. They all just wait, and maybe not many people borrow, and it'll just be a different market. And then on Pulse Chain, I mean, I know that when I first went over to what's it called, to Matic, to QuickSwap, like after being on Ethereum and having to really consider whether I did anything and pay all this money for a transaction, it's like when I got over there, I was like, woohoo! I was just like doing this transaction. I didn't even think about making transactions because it costs fractions of a penny, and so I could just move the tokens around as much as I wanted, and went into this liquidity pool, and then 12 hours later thought that was a dumb idea. Take it all out, put it into something else. You're just kind of like,
it's more loose, more easy.
It's In a way, it's kind of better to really think about it, because you do get a bit degen when you can move it around so easily.
That's true. High gas prices do, encourage you to make less moves, right?
It kind of forces you to be more strategic, I think. Shout out to Terrafin. I didn't think he'd show up unless Rags to Riches was here to make fun of. So we're happy to have you, Terrafin.
I think he's calling him in. He's saying,
he's
waiting for you.
He's calling in. Rags was supposed to be on here. He's busy doing adult stuff most likely, but he may or may not show up. Going back to it, I don't think in crypto we can ever dumb down or make things as basic as possible and can continue to reiterate them, because there are so many people that are brand new that are just finding Hex. They're just figuring out what staking is. And, this stuff is learning Hex is like learning a new language, and learning Hedron is like learning 3 specific dialects of that said language. You know what I mean?
I don't think it's that hard, but I see what your point is.
But to someone, I guess to someone new, I would say that. To someone that's, that's versed in the lingo and how Hex works and a lot of the concepts, going to a new island in, let's say, the Philippines and picking up a new dialect is a little easier than someone just being dropped on that island.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think it's as hard as learning a new language, but I see what you're saying.
Yeah. Hex Life says we got that second PhD, because it's so fun when you get into it and you start, because there was one game theory, which this is way in the weeds. This is exactly the opposite of what I'm preaching, but people are saying, let's say that we're really close to that AMR bonus where the loaned or advanced Hedron is approaching higher than the total circulating supply. And they were saying someone with a bunch of Hedron or some big stakes could go and do a huge advance, like a huge borrow a ton and kick and basically trigger the AMR. And it's just stuff like that makes your head swim. Where you're like, oh man, this could be crazy.
Yeah, I mean, we've been discussing all sorts of things in the Hedron chats, and the whale games are what it's going to be really interesting. And in a way, this is kind of like it's whale training pool for hexagons, because we've got all of a sudden there's going to be a whole lot of hexagons who are Hedron whales or potential whales, and how you operate as a whale is very different from how you operate as a minnow. Like as a minnow, you're just pretty much going to stake and do your time, maybe trying to earn more money and get it in and stake and do your time. But as a whale, there's all sorts of games that can be played. And so what we've been hypothesizing is that as soon as Hedron comes out, there are going to be whales who are making stakes that they intend to not make payments for the 90 days, because they want to see those auctions start happening. Because there's going to be a whole lot of people with a whole lot of Hedron, and it's probably going to have a pretty low price or a relatively low price on market. And if they just dumped all of their Hedron on market, they're going to get an even lower price. The price will move against them. So instead, if they can bid on an actual hex stake, that's kind of a smarter way to spend that Hedron. And so those first hex stakes that come up for liquidation, they are probably going to be, people are going to start bidding. And I think a lot of Hedron is going to be burnt by trying to win those hex HSI stakes. And so that's a way for a whale to try to start flushing out the Hedron from the system, to get people to win auctions and then burn all of that Hedron. And then there's that other game that if you're a whale with a whole lot of HSI stakes, and the AMR bonus is getting close, or even if it triggers, what you could do is you could start borrowing on a whole lot of those HSI stakes, because you're only borrowing the base rate. That's going to move the ratio even more so. Therefore, the AMR bonus is going to be even bigger. And then for that 24 hours, they start minting with those 10x bonuses that get the 10x bonus plus the AMR bonus as well. And then they pay off the other borrows that they made, so they can then mint on those which are getting the 10x plus the AMR bonus. And all of that's getting burnt as well. So that's just raising the value of Hedron, because there's less and less supply. So it's going to be interesting to see, what whale games are played. Oh, we can't hear you.
Yeah, you're muted, X-Ray.
Thanks for reminding the host that he's muted. I was just gonna share this screen right here, which has actually, let me get rid of that one so you can see it. There's a countdown at the timer right here. So the claim bonus is starting in about 25 hours from now, right? Because we had people asking if they should, start their Hedron stakes next week, but Hedron isn't going live for about how much longer, Bluebell?
We got 25 hours, I think.
But I mean, the claim is in 25 hours, but the Hedron system, like the actual system, is it?
Yeah, 25 hours.
So it's going live as the claim starting.
Everything, the contract goes, and then everything is up.
Yeah. Yeah, tomorrow night it begins. Yeah, we start at UTC 000. Tomorrow's hex payday. Hedron is born and is
So
alive.
Hedron's is supposed to go live in 25 hours.
It will. The smart contract's already deployed. That's a timer in the smart contract, so it's happening. You can't stop it.
It's so bananas. And people are asking, is Hedron claimable now? Again, it is claimable in about 25 hours. So tomorrow it's coming down. So that's
remember, it's the bonus. The bonus is claimable. You're only claiming the bonus,
and
like
the bonus,
attaching that bonus. Like you can mint in 25 hours as well. And
it's gonna go retroactive, right? To all the days that you have served.
Yeah, so it's retroactive and going forward with the 10x bonus.
Yeah.
And people are asking if the 10x bonus will apply to the pull side also.
Yes.
Yeah, everything is duplicated. So if you've claimed on a stake and that has attached the 10x bonus, then when the fork happens, you'll have a pulse HSI hex stake with the 10x bonus attached to it.
I'm so happy that this is coming out before Pulse. Like the idea that this is one of the ERC20s that are going to be duplicated, it makes me so happy.
It's going to be awesome.
And, I hate to see, any bear market, but now's actually a pretty good time to have a bear market when this launches, because it means that all of the gas costs to do all of this stuff is a lot cheaper for us.
Perfect timing.
What do you think about Bitfinesse's idea there that a whale could come in the very beginning of Hedron and trigger the ASMR? I don't know if it's ASMR. I think that's something else.
There won't be enough days.
The AMR
in your HSI. Like any stakes that get made tomorrow with an HSI, even a month from now, those are only 30 days old. So you'd only be able to because it borrows everything into the future, right? The entire stake. So that's not true. You could do it. You could tomorrow. You could make an HSI stake and then borrow against it and pre-print everything.
But wait, so you're allowed to pre-borrow future. That's what you guys have all been talking about. That makes way more sense to me. I was like, what? How are you supposed to make money on that? That makes way more sense.
Yeah, it's
borrowing future things in a stake that already exists for that time. So if you end that stake early, then what happens? You can't. In HSI, you can't early end stake.
Emergency end stake. You can emergency end stake.
Oh, I thought it turned it off.
But you have way less reason to. Like, why would
you? What would you do with your bonus? I would say, what would happen to the loan? That's what my question is.
I think it.
So he's saying if you have an HSI with an advance,
you can't end it. No, you can't end it if you have a borrow on it.
There we go. So it does lock it off. That's what I mean. So
you have to pay the borrow off before you can end the stake.
There we go. It's like a loan.
You can run good accounting on it though, with a borrow on it.
Yeah. So what are some of the possibilities that someone with the OA that has an insane amount of T shares? I mean, so I guess they would actually be like Q shares at that point, right? Some insane number of shares comes in and does something like that.
The OA, or even indeed like probably the God Whale, but let's just say the OA, because they have by far the most amount of hex. If they just staked even some of that hex for one day and then minted all of the Hedron from that, they would easily be the biggest whale.
Or the Hedron that's already created and the stakes already have. I mean, there's some of those stakes that are still huge.
Yeah, absolutely. Or they could just be a big whale. But if someone sees the OA do that and OA does nothing with that Hedron, that's going to be pretty bullish for Hedron. Because that's kind of like the OA endorsing, like giving a tacit endorsement. And so my guess is that the OA won't do anything unless they think that Hedron is some sort of threat to Hex. But I can't see how they would think
and then
that.
Control a lot of it.
I completely agree. I expect the OA to do absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
You might see the God Whale claim, maybe.
Yeah, I think you will. I mean, we just saw the God Whale sacrifice for liquid loans. So the God Whale, I think they'll claim for Hedron for sure.
Yeah.
And also just to remember, we might not see them claim during the claim period. This is also kind of whale games, because anything made during the claim period with those 10x bonus, 9x bonus, etc., there's an SA, a source address, and that's kind of the Hedron equivalent of the OA, and they get a copy of all those bonuses. So if you're a really massive whale and you don't want that source address, you want to be a competitor to that source address rather than just giving all of that Hedron to the source address, you might claim the day after the launch bonus. And so that then the source address would not get a copy of those bonuses. So if we do see the OA come in,
You mean that 10x?
or even
the 10x
Pardon?
bonuses. You're talking about the bonuses, the 10x down to the. Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
once
SA will get a
once it's
copy.
over.
The SA gets a copy of all of those bonuses.
Okay.
So what I'm saying is that there could, I mean, this is all just such conjecture, but if you're a massive whale, they might actually mint their Hedron on the day after that 100 days finishes. And if they do that, then or they might just, they just might mint on that day and then keep waiting on their stakes and mint more later. But in that way, the SA won't get a copy because there's no bonuses. And so it's hard to know how those kind of people what they'll do.
Yeah. That's all wild speculation. Yeah.
So here's a quick question. If you claim in the first 10 days, you get the bonus. Does that include on new stakes? So if I staked in the HSI during those first 10 days, would I get the 10x bonus on that brand new stake as well?
Yeah, it's
Yes.
automatically attached.
So
Yeah.
technically, I could borrow my bonus on
No,
the new
you can't borrow
HSI
bonus.
stake.
No, you can only borrow at the base rate.
Okay.
Yeah.
When does the
Good
bonus
to
get
know.
out? When you end the stake? Minted?
Yeah.
later?
Whenever you mint, you get the bonus.
But you have to mint it before you mint your hex, or it's gone. Before you end your
stake.
must mint your Hedron.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes. Rat
Okay.
Trap asked, do I need money to set up stakes through the Hedron app in order to mint Hedron?
Yeah,
It's just gas. It's just Ethereum, just like making a hex stake.
Yeah, it
Except
depends
you go
on
to the
which
Hedron
network.
site instead of the hex.com site.
Yeah, and then on Pulse, you'd be paying Pulse on the Pulse network
Correct,
when it comes out.
Yep.
and the
So it depends on
Hedron,
what chain.
making hex through the Hedron contract is going to be a little bit more expensive than a hex stake. It's probably going to be about a 3x or something on a hex stake. So it's going to, I think it's going to cost around $60. Obviously, depending on gas prices and the price of Ethereum of when you do it.
Yeah,
Per stake.
and the 10x bonus will
Yeah,
apply
per
to
stake,
native
yeah.
stakes, and then whatever you set up in those first 10 days, right?
Yep. Cha-ching.
Oh,
Oh man, it's gonna be so much
I
fun,
didn't-
dude. This weekend is gonna be amazing, man.
I
Like
didn't know
Sunday,
until
Saturday.
this stream it was going live in a day. I thought this was just like, sacrifice phase where you do your
man.
claim and then you wait for
No
it to show.
sacrifice.
This is going live. No
And you know what?
sacrifice,
It's so
just-
refreshing.
yes.
It's so refreshing to not have a sacrifice stage, I gotta say.
Yeah, an old-fashioned
it's just-
airdrop, you know.
It's like sacrifices are kind of becoming the new ICO,
A special
IDO,
airdrop.
whatever, you know what I mean?
Totally.
And
Yeah, pre-sale.
Yeah.
yeah. This is live, it's happening, it's audited, no admin keys. It's,
Fantastic.
and like I can appreciate people being critical of it and being unsure of what kind of effect this will have into the future, but in the end, it's happening. It's a permissionless world we're living in. It's gonna happen, and it's like arguing against it is kind of like arguing against the weather. Like
It's
you've got
irrelevant.
to accept it and deal with it. This is going to
Yeah.
be part of the ecosystem. You
Like-
can either, you don't have to do it. You don't have to partake in it. You can just watch it, but it's happening. And so people are going to use it.
Yeah. And someone's asking if Staker app will show the T-shares through Hedron, the HSI stakes, and that's a question I think only Staker can answer. So I don't
Yeah,
know
at
if
the
Staker's
moment,
going to be
there's-
adding that.
At the moment, they don't have plans to, but we'll see what happens in the future. There is a tutorial in the Hedron chat on how to claim with Staker, and I went through the tutorial yesterday, and it all worked. And there was a little bit that was confusing for me, but I sort of worked it out. And so I'm going to make a little video, like after the thing launches, I'm going to go and claim my stakes in Staker app. I was actually a tester for the Staker app when it first came out, and so I have a few Staker app stakes. And so I'll run a little quick, few minute tutorial on how to do that. It's,
I haven't seen
it's,
that yet. You just use the Gnosis Safe website interface, right?
Yeah, you have to put your basically you have to take your seed from your staker app. You have to put it into Metamask. That brings up this address which has nothing in it. Then you have to go to the Gnosis Safe, and you have to like hook that up. I'm not going to give the right things, but basically,
yeah, I got you.
You then go
It's
to
a
the
process.
Hedron app, and you connect through Wallet Connect, and then you put that URI code into the Gnosis Safe wallet, and that means that all of your stakes will come up in the Hedron dApp. And then just like similar to like you'll see native stakes, and you just go and you can either claim or mint on them.
Okay, cool.
That's cool.
Yeah, so it can be done. That's good. Gives advanced users of Staker app an option.
Right.
Bit Finesse is in here talking about waiting to retire. He likes dropping 60K into Hex per year for the next year. Apparently, Bit Finesse is going to retire onto an aircraft carrier or something like that. He's like going to skip. He's going to skip the super yachts and go straight to an aircraft carrier with a couple of F-16s.
I thought it'd be like a big oil tanker, like Waterworld. I imagine Bit Finesse he's steering one of those, right?
Right, and I do have to apologize for anyone who watches this stream a few years from now, where we're talking about B shares being $3 to $5. That'll break their brains right there in 2 to 4 years. They're gonna watch this stream and be like, how much was a B share? That's insane. So just had to drop that. Tim is late. Tim says, when's the free claim? He just joined. Tim, you got to rewind, buddy. We just kidding. It's it's like 24 hours for like, well, yeah, 25 hours right now.
Yeah, the invisible Rolex says about a day.
It's such a cool Rolex. You can't even see
man,
it.
I got the best Rolex. Fuck that gold shit. Mine's like cloaked.
Nobody can even steal it. Shout out to DJ Crypto Matic. And I love his. I really was digging his beats the other day. So we should definitely make new 555 stakes next week. Just have some good options for the future. Really, it's the 555 just got so much juicier. Because who can even predict what the price of something like Hedron will be in 15 years? And you can get it. You can get it for the cost of an ETH fee tomorrow in about a day, right?
Yeah.
So your risk in Hedron is the fee, basically, and your reward is like, who knows, right?
Yeah, depends how you use it. I'll tell you what my personal plan is. Maybe this will give some people some ideas of what they can do. So tomorrow when it goes live, for all of my old like native hex stakes, my regular old hex stakes, I'm just going to claim. I'm going to lock in that 10x bonus on all my stakes. I'm personally going to wait for the AMR bonus, where if more people borrow, and if they pre-mint more Hedron than actually exists, then it kicks in a minting bonus. I'm going to wait for that on all my old stakes and just play it cool. I don't need my Hedron now. I'm not going to do anything with it. So I'm just going to claim. And then I've got some liquid hex that I was just sitting on. It's just in my wallet chilling. I'm going to break it up. Maybe, I don't know, like pick an example, like 1,000 hex each, or maybe like 10,000 hex each. And I'm going to make some of those HSI stakes 5555 locked in with a 10x bonus. So you can make those this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And then with those, you just chill on them. I expect it comes with a 10x Hedron minting bonus, and it's a 5555. So in the future, if I ever wanted cash, I can turn that into an NFT and I can sell it for a premium on OpenSea or Rarible or whatever
place is about to get hacked, right?
Hopefully not. I think Gerardo's making a competitor to OpenSea, so maybe that'll be cool in the future on Pulse
I
Chain.
thought he was trolling when I saw that, but if he really is, that's super exciting. How much is
here's actually something else.
Go ahead. I was just trying to cover this question.
The question, I think it's like $50, right? $50-$60.
No, $20. 20 and actually, I think it might even be closer to 10 now because it's been dropping so much.
And it depends on the gas fee at that moment. So it's variable.
Yeah.
Sorry. Go ahead, Bluebell.
yeah, so here's another thought that I've thought of, like, because I plan to make HSIs, and I was thinking, well, how much do I make them for? If I make them. And so what I've kind of thought of is a type of ladder, but instead of it being a time ladder, it's a share ladder. So these stakes, we have no idea what they're going to be worth in the future. And if we, for instance, make like a 1 T-share stake, and we put it out 5555, in 5 years, that could be, especially with that 10x bonus attached, that could be worth a ton of money. And those stakes that are worth a ton of money, perhaps they are more difficult to sell in a market because there's not as many buyers around. Like if you have a stake that's worth $10 million, that's going to be harder to sell than a stake that's worth $50,000 or something like that, by example, right? Mm. And so we have to remember that we're making these stakes, and if we do want the options to sell them in the future, the more they're worth, there might be a smaller market for them. It's just something to keep in mind. So what I've been thinking of doing is maybe I make 100 B share stake, a 200 B share stake, a 300, a 400, a 500, up to 1,000. And that way I kind of have options. Like in the future, and remember, we're going to get all copies of these on the Pulse chain. So they're going to be 2 different markets as well. So maybe, like if you have a very small, like if you just need a little bit of money, maybe you just have a small stake that you want to sell. And the other ones are just collecting the maximum amount of yield, and, you know, it's increasing your wealth. And then, you know, so, or you could mint from some of them, some of the bigger ones if you wanted to reduce how much they are. Like you, so yeah, so that's my idea was like a B share ladder. And I'm wondering what the smallest one would be. And I don't know.
100 B shares is my thought. But that's just
100 B shares would be what?
My minimum. But then I don't know if that's in the future, like you said, it goes up depending on where it's at. That may still be stupid high for some people, is the way it goes. They said you have less people being able to buy the bigger ones.
It's something to think about. Yeah. Like it is not just like selling HEX on a liquid market. It's selling an NFT on an NFT market. And we don't know in the future what those markets will look like. Whether there'll be, you know, big players within or institutions who are wanting to buy in big all at once. And maybe it will be the bond of the future where, you know, you have everyone in there, you know, like how long did it take for Bitcoin before institutions were buying it? It took about 10 years, hey? Maybe it takes 10 years until they're buying HEX stakes. I mean, it's so hard to know the future, you know, and worst comes to worst, you have this 15-year HEX stake and you see it out and you mint the Hedron, or you mint it as you go, and then at the end you end the stake and get all of the HEX.
Yeah. Well, how easy is it to practice delayed gratification when you got something for basically free? Like, what is your risk? What are you out of by waiting and holding on to these Hedron tokens? Like, you're out the fee, the gas fee.
Yeah, right? A couple $100 that I spent. You know, it's like whatever.
I got to read this for Bitfinesse. Choosing to remain unaware of Hedron's features and properties is like choosing to remain unaware of T-shares. It's going to cost you, right? T-shares now let you mint HEX and Hedron both. So that's I love the way he looks at that.
You know, Hedron really forces people to understand HEX, because to understand Hedron, I'm starting to say Hedron now. To understand Hedron, you have to understand T-shares, and T-shares are how you understand HEX. That's how you understand the mechanism of how it works. And it's a bit complex at first, but once you get it and the penny drops, it's such an aha moment. And yeah, that's it.
Yeah, Hexpores are asking for Hedron price action over time.
You know, I've been thinking about this, right? So the first person to get into Uniswap sets the price. So if you're a potential Hedron whale and you want to provide liquidity and you're the first person in there, what do you set the price for? Let's say you set the price for something really, 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 really low. Yeah. Now, people coming and minting their Hedron and just want to dump it, they're going to get a terrible price for it. And they're going to move the price against themselves. So the price is going to go even lower. And so you're getting all of this Hedron from them for very, very, very cheap. But if you're a person who kind of goes, hey, I think Hedron could do something and I kind of like it. And hey, look, there's about 5 zeros in the price. That is nothing. I'm just going to chuck $50 on this, or I'm going to chuck $1,000 on this, and I'm just going to hold it for a little while and see what happens. You're scooping up Hedron for very, very cheap. So that first person to set the price, on the one hand, they want to scoop up from the people who are dumping, but on the other hand, they don't want to give their Hedron away too cheap. So it's going to be somewhere in the middle there. So now let's say everybody starts dumping their Hedron and it goes to the maximum lower price, which is 17 zeros and a 1. You can pick up a lot of Hedron at that price. Like you can pick up a lot, and that price could move all over the place in that time. So in terms of what the price will be, I've got no idea. I've got no idea what that first person will set it as. And then I've got no idea what the behavior of people will be. I imagine that as people think they're getting something for free and they could just dump it and buy hex, like maybe they will just dump it. But there's going to be other people who see the value in it, who see, wow, this Hedron is super cheap. I might just scoop up a bit and just store it away for a little while and see what happens. Other people will probably try to trade all of that,
Yeah, I personally think about sitting on it for like 2 years and seeing what happens, because a lot happens in 2 years in crypto. You look at the last 2 years in Hex, what's happened. We were scooping it up for 0.0002. Like we were literally buying it with our $80 ETH at that time, right?
Yeah, it's 100 for a penny, 100 hex for 1 penny back in the day. That's what I used to buy it at.
Yeah, and who would have thought that it would go up and smack 50 cents, and then people are complaining now. What is it right now? 13 cents or something like
13? That? Bro, I was like 10 was a pipe dream. Now it's down on the 13 and people are crying. It's like,
for sure. I did want to address this one. Keep in mind that once you tokenize the stake, you no longer own it.
Well, you do.
I kind of agree with that, but I kind of don't.
No, you do. Well, hey, what owns the stake is the contract that you have the private keys to.
Yes.
Keys to.
So it's not in a system.
You own the contract which owns the stake, and then you can send that contract to another address, and then that address owns the private keys to the contract which owns the stake.
Right.
So you do own it.
So the system couldn't go in and take it and change it and move it and early unstake it.
No.
It does not have that permission without your keys.
No, it's impossible. It's that this new contract is drawn up just for that stake, and that HSI, that hex stake instance, contact is specifically just to map the ownership of that stake, and that's all it can do. It can't
so you can see who's owned it, how many times it's been sold. Then.
Well, the thing is, every time you tokenize it and then detokenize it, you burn that contract, and
that's
then
right.
Look, this is getting into. You sell the NFT though, you could technically see who's on that NFT 15 times.
As long as you keep it as an NFT.
No, you can't. You can't, because as soon as you detokenize it and then tokenize it again, it's a new NFT.
As long as you don't detokenize it. If you just leave it as an NFT,
if you leave it in its wrapper,
then you can see which addresses it's been to. Yes.
Yeah.
So if you want anonymity, you can. If you don't, then you don't.
And Crypto Freedom, the link to Blue Bum's 4-minute tutorial is up inside of the comments, and we're going to add it to the details. And this is another thing I wanted to cover, because people are not wrapping their heads around premium, right? So they say you have to find a buyer for the NFT to profit. That's true. But think about it this way. People are like, well, if you wrapped a 5555 and then you turn around and sold it, then, there's no, but just like when you go get a loan or pawn something or anything else, or even if you look at options in the stock market, there's a premium that you're paying every time you buy and sell this thing. So it's not like you can just wrap it and sell it and make money. You're most likely going to lose money because there's going to be a premium or a fee associated with handling it, with wrapping it, with unwrapping it. Every time this changes hands, there's a cost.
People have been trying to wrap their heads around how you will how you will put a value onto these stakes. Well, let's say you make a 15-year stake and then 2 years later you want to sell it. How much do you sell it for? And I think at the simplest level, what you can say is how many shares are in that, how much a share is, like how many B shares or T shares or whatever, how much a share is currently worth. So it'll be that price plus however much Hedron you can mint from it so far.
What's left that you have minted, right?
Or what's left that you haven't minted yet.
And you can see that on a dashboard.
You go to the stake info. Yeah, on the Hedron DApp, you can look at your stake info. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
And so you add those two numbers together. I think that would be the minimum that you would want to sell it for, unless you were desperate to sell it, and then maybe you would sell it at a slight discount. And if there was no market, you know what I mean? But if people were competing for these stakes, then obviously you'd sell it for a premium. And the reason they would be doing that is because they couldn't get the same amount without spending an absolute crap ton on buying shares.
Right. And let me just throw this out there. If you guys want more information that we're not getting or some other questions answered, a wonderful place to go is t.me/Hedron. Is that right? Or is it Hedron Crypto? The Telegram. I've got it right here.
Sorry, I was just reading the comments. What did you ask?
I was asking the Telegram channel for Hedron is t.me/Hedron. Is that correct, or is it Hedron Crypto?
Hedron Crypto.
Okay, yeah. So t.me. Yeah. There's always, like, I went there just before this stream today and was asking questions like, hey, when's this launch coming? When's this? How's this? How do I get a hold of Blue Bum even though he's halfway around the world, right? So he responded, and I'm so glad he joined. But also, Blue Bum has a channel, Magic Carperite. Is that your channel, or is that a channel that you also contribute to?
No, it was just Ty who runs that channel. Asked if he could grab my video and put it on his channel.
Yeah,
so I gave it to him. Yeah, so it's on my channel. It's on his channel. I'm not really looking to build my channel. I just use it as a thing to put out stuff if I want to put stuff out. I'm not really chasing the whole kind of being an influencer kind of thing.
Alex just dropped the Telegram in the chat as well. So yeah, t.me/Hedron Crypto. What do you guys think about Ancient Earthways game theory? I want to borrow against the HSI, then default on purpose, send it out to liquidation for it to be bid up high, and then the price go up. So I think he's referring to like burning tokens. Just like,
that's what I was
burn some tokens.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about before. That I think that might be a whale game. They make these HSIs, purposely default on them, watch people bid up on them, and because people have a whole lot of Hedron and it's not worth much, they're going to bid crap tons to get those stakes, and that's burning a whole lot of Hedron. So that might be a whale game that Ancient Earthways plays.
That's savage, man. That's brutal. That's some mind games right there. Because I'm excited for the auction house. I can't wait to go in there and see the liquidations and use Hedron that I've minted from my stakes already had to bid. Like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
DJ,
it was interesting.
Oh, I was going to talk about this question on screen, but go ahead and then we can address that.
Okay, just quickly before we answer that question, it was interesting. I think Gerardo, he was playing around with it all on testnet, and one of the things that he did is he thought, right, I'm going to crash the Hedron price. So he just got a whole lot of Hedron and he just sold it to see how low he could get the Hedron price. And it's all just test money. So, but I thought that was very, very interesting because there was something obviously that was very fun for him to do that. Like he wanted to do that. And like when you're looking at sort of greater human psychology across a mass of people, I think there will be that element in there. There's going to be people who just want to crash the market just because they want to see it crash down, because they can affect it, and so maybe people will try to do that just because it's fun.
Wait a second. In 24 hours, give or take, there's most likely going to be a Hedron ERC20 on Uniswap.
Well, okay. As soon as this contract starts, people can start minting. As soon as people can start minting, people can then start adding liquidity on Uniswap. Yeah. So we don't know who is going to do it or if anyone is going to do it, but I'm guessing someone is going to do it, and probably there's going to be a race to get in there to set the first price. And once that first price is set, then the market is happening, and people are either adding liquidity or buying or selling.
So if you wanted to be lazy and DCA into Hedron tokens, you could go put on a liquidity pair on Uniswap with USDC or ETH or HEX. You could throw it on there, and because of impermanent loss, if the price of Hedron drops, then you would literally be shifting your dollars or your ETH or your HEX slowly into Hedron, or basically just buying all the dips through Uniswap. So that's one option people have right there.
Yeah, plus you'd be getting the trading fees as well.
Plus you'd be getting the So tomorrow there could be that option for people. So DJ Cryptomatic, Blue Bum, are you 100% in favor of Hedron, or do you see potential dangers for the original Hex with it? And that goes along with who is it here? Romanian Dan, Romanian Dan, a percent chance of Hedron has a negative impact on the Hex ecosystem. Do you see any negatives or any possible threats or problems?
Okay. Well, first of all, I'm not 100% sure of anything in the world whatsoever. So forget that. In terms of like risks, okay. It is another contract, right? I think that minting Hedron, I don't think that's really a danger. It's read only. I can't see how that's going to be a danger. From making HSI stakes, potentially there is something that the auditors, all of the devs that have looked over it, blah, 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 blah. Someone has missed, I don't know, there's a bracket that's out of place and that's going to fuck up everything. And there is contract risk. Whenever you're doing something new like this, there is some form of contract risk, and everyone should be really aware of that. This is cutting edge finance. This is cutting edge. This is blockchain technology. It's all new. Just like you're putting, actually, David, you might be able to. This is a little tangent, but did you guys know that there's a bug in the Hex contract?
No,
I did not.
There is a 180-year bug. Because the amount of days that you can have, I'm not going to be able. I was hoping you'd know it, David, because how you could articulate it. But there is some sort of really obscure kind of bug that is never going to be used, right? But and you have to wait 180 years for it to happen, because
you'll be dead before that can happen. Tell your great grandkids.
There's a limit on the number of days that you can put in the Hex contract. And then it has to go back to zero. And I think that happens after 180 years. And there's some way that if you make a Hex stake sometime in that 180 years, and then you wait 180 years for it to click over, and then it goes again, then you can claim that Hex again, or you can maybe if you GA'd that Hex stake.
Yeah, so this would have to do with good accounting.
And then you GA'd it, and then you waited 180 years or something like that, and then that day and then whatever years until you made that comes up again, then you could go and mint that Hex again. Or there's some kind of little bug in there. I can't remember exactly how you would exploit it.
If you do good accounting, you're going to want to set an alarm to go off before 180 years.
For your great.
That's really.
So that's one for people to research, and because I'm probably not articulating it completely accurately. but it's something. I heard it once and I was just like, what? And okay, so with all of these new contracts, there is potentially something that we have not seen, that the audit hasn't seen, that all of the devs that have looked over it haven't seen, and that, you know, that happens. As far as like, I mean, it looks all fine. And I guess, yeah, so can I be 100% sure, DJ Cryptomatic? No. Never 100% sure of anything. Yeah. I don't code. I don't read Solidity. I've read through the contract because it actually is, a lot of the parts of it are in English. Like it's very well notated. Like he says what this part does, and then he's got the code. And he says what this part does, and then he's got the code, just like in the Hex contract. And so, yeah, like I'm not going to give 100% guarantee to anything. In terms of what it does in the gamification of the Hex system, I think it's going to be rocket fuel for Hex. That's how I've kind of gameplayed it out. Like you get more Hedron if you make more Hex stakes, and you lock it up, and if you make, and it's incentivized to lock it up for longer. How is that not good for the Hex price? I don't know.
And you're incentivized not to EES.
Incentivized not to emergency end stake, which is just, you know, Hex getting dumped on the market. People have been making things about how, yeah, if everyone makes these long stakes, you get less APY. Yeah, but that's the Hex contract. More people make stakes. People are incentivized. We're telling people to make more stakes, which makes us get less APY. But if it's less APY, that means more Hex locked up in the future. And that means that there's going to be less in supply. Price goes up. That's why we want more people to stake, so that they can actually like play this game well. And there's plenty for everyone. You know, it's not about having to, you know, I mean, how much the Hex APY goes up or down a little bit. You really think you're going to be making that less or more on a, or if not as many people are emergency end staking, you really think you're going to lose out on penalties that people like that? To me is such short-term thinking and like.
Yeah,
myopic kind of thinking.
A couple of concerned people here. One person's concerned that they might not get an airdrop if they stake through HSI, which maybe not. And then Chris H is worried that we won't get those.
That doesn't make sense to me either. Like if they're airdropping, like, okay, let's say in the future there's another contract which wants to airdrop onto any address that has a stake. That airdrop is going to go to that contract
on it. It's on that
contract, which is holding the stake, address. which you own. So I mean, look, that's beyond my technical capabilities. It depends how they do it. You know what I mean? And I imagine that if anyone wants to do it in the future, they'll probably be incentivized to drop it to as many people as possible.
Yeah, and
so they'll probably make a way for you to claim it. I'm guessing.
Chris H is worried that he won't get the EES penalties anymore, which. There's still going to be all of the native original stakes right now that are already going, right? They're not HSI stakes, so.
Yeah, people will still emergency end stake. Like, people do that, you know. And the thing is, as well, is that's actually not, you know, most of the Hex that you earn every day or that accrues to your address every day is from the inflation of the token. It's not from penalties. Every now and then we see a hack, like we did with Hex 19, where they ended a whole bunch of his stakes, and we got a huge increase on that day. But apart from the occasional day, like really mainly you're getting the inflation of the coin.
Yep, true.
I'm trying to unpack what Bitfinesse is saying here. I'm 100% sure that no liquid Hex are exchanged during the buy and sell of HSI via tokenized NFT stake. Can you guys explain that?
That's true. He's right.
Yeah.
Because the Hex is in the NFT, so you're not trading liquid Hex, you're trading a staked Hex.
The market.
Yeah, unless you wanted to.
It's still staked, yeah.
That makes sense.
Unless someone, bless you, unless someone was paying in Hex to buy the NFT. Right. But I don't think they will be. I think that if you have liquid Hex, you'll probably be making an HSI stake. Like, I think those HSIs will probably sell for ETH and Pulse and USDC and stuff like that.
I apologize. I'm having the hardest time keeping up with the comments because there's a lot of questions and there's so much awesome conversation going on. about all this game theory and what could or would happen. Alex says good accounting would break it. I think he's talking about that 180 years. Is
Oh
that the
yeah,
one?
he was the one that told me that what it was, but I probably mucked it up. If Alex, if you want to like explain it better, like what that bug is, it's a really interesting one.
And a lot of people are
It's a
saying
great one for hex trivia. If anyone ever does hex trivia,
Yeah, totally.
we'll save that one for Crypto Cabana. And a lot of people are saying if the price goes up, it doesn't matter if you miss out on this or that or the EES bonuses, you know. So, yeah, as long as the price of hex is going up, you don't.
I mean,
need
what we've
all of
seen.
bonuses.
What we've seen is that the gains in hex that we've gotten since being, early adopters, has mainly been from the price increase. It hasn't been from the yield that we've earned. That's been a nice bonus, especially if you were pre-big payday. But really, the gains have been from the price increase because
Price
that's just
appreciation.
yeah.
Obviously, it also comes down to how many people are going to trust it right away. Like you said, you have these 10 days to get that 10x multiplier. And if people don't trust it or make the stakes in there and claim it, you're not going to have as much Hedron out there as you think if people don't claim it anyways. Plus, how many people are going to trust it right away? It could be like hex. You don't trust it till now. People are like, oh, sweet, 20 cents, 10 cents, whatever. Let's buy it now, where you get all these stakes and all this stuff done early. And heck, it just changes it so that you're early, just like with hex. So who cares?
Yeah, I'm sure there'll be plenty of people going, I don't trust this contract. I'm not going to do anything with it.
Just fine.
They'll miss out on the launch bonus. Then they'll see it operating all perfectly and fine. Then a year will pass and it's still operating perfectly and fine. And then 2 years pass and it's still operating all perfectly and fine. And at that stage, well, I'm gonna mint my Hedron. It's the same thing with people who thought that hex was a scam. And then slowly it shows that it works, and eventually they get in later, and they didn't take the risk at the start, and so they haven't got as much rewards, but it's just going to be time in the market and they'll get the same rewards. Anyone who bought the 56-cent top in hex, you just got to wait, it'll come. And I think a similar thing will happen with Hedron.
Yeah, and Alex is saying that if Hedron's a success, the airdrops will target the Hedron users as well. So
there you go. Yeah, if you want to come up with a parade of imaginary horribles, you kind of also have to come up with a parade of imaginary awesomeness.
Right.
Everyone talks about the rug pull, but not the magic carpet ride.
Right. I mean, people like negative things.
Let me first say thanks so much to David Feeder for coming in. I know that all the watchers are going to drop like a rock now that the feeder is gone and out of the house, but he was summoned, and I really appreciate his time on coming on here. We do have another guest. Looks like Post Malone had all of his tattoos removed, and he's now joining us. I tease you, but welcome, Alex. Welcome to the stream. How are you doing today?
No, not too bad. I've only got a few minutes, but
can't hear you.
You're really quiet.
Can you turn up your gain on your microphone a little bit?
Yeah, 1 second.
Awesome. Or you can stick the microphone inside of your mouth like hexologist.
Crumbs.
Right? Just pull. That's way better.
Okay, cool.
Awesome. Yeah, we are just getting hit left and right. There's so much game theory going on, so many questions. That it's incredible. And like I had no idea that you were going live at the same time as a claim. I thought, 2 more months was going to be the answer for the next 8 months when we asked when Hedron was going to go live. So I'm really excited.
Yeah, I mean, we did have to delay once for a month, but fortunately, that was it.
Right. Your volume is still really low for me. Is that?
It's still pretty
low. I
low.
can hear some in the background. I think it's.
You got a really good mic, so it should be really good.
Yeah, you think so, right?
There we go. That's a little bit better. Those Shure mics are really directional, aren't they?
Yeah, they're pretty directional.
Awesome. Do you want to answer some of these questions? It says, we know how regularly get advised to buy assets with crypto gains that throw off cash. Hedron is that cash. Tomorrow, Hex Stakes will be a suspended cash asset. Glorious. Spendable cash asset. Sorry, glorious. Yeah, so this allows people to, like I said, take profit or realize some profit without killing the golden goose. And is that like what was going through your head when you were, or who are you talking to around a kitchen table when you're like, you know what, I'm just gonna pick up Solidity and make this thing happen?
I mean, if you look at like the wealth strategies of most people, like no matter what they're investing in, it's always, I have this thing and it's worth a lot and it's increasing in value a lot, and how can I keep it increasing in value while also being able to get some liquidity out and, you know, do my day-to-day stuff. And in the fiat world, that is lending. They take some kind of fixed asset that's guaranteed to appreciate, and they borrow against it at a lower rate, so they're always net positive, but they're also able to go live the lifestyle they want to live. So that's kind of the whole initial idea. And then, so like that kind of explains the borrowing side. Well, to have borrowing, you have to have minting. You have to have a free liquidity side that can be used for repayment. So there's minting. And then tradable stakes was kind of just added after the fact, because we had to do all the work for tradable stakes to make borrowing work. And it was like, well, you know, people want this, might as well just have it as a feature. So you can send it to another wallet, or you can list it on an NFT marketplace, you know, whatever you want to do with it.
Yeah, and I remember watching a clip of Richard Hart the day of launch of Hex, when Tone Vase and the pack of lawyers are going after him, and he mentions someone can go ahead and code tradable stakes in the future. So it's like he had that expectation 2 years ago, you know, or over 2 years ago, where he's like, look, it's open. It's a, you know, not, you don't have to ask permission to build on this stuff. Anyone can show up and build what they want, good or bad. And that was something he mentioned. So it's really interesting to see that come to fruition.
Yeah, and I think I'm most excited to see, like, if you can encapsulate these stakes and put them inside essentially an NFT token, right? And you can take them to whatever marketplace you want to take them to. Well, now we can take stakes to Polygon and all these other layer 2s, where there's whole sets of users that are alienated from staking. Like right now, some of them can trade liquid hex, but now we can bring stakes to them on these layer 2s. And yeah, they have to like take it back to actually like get the reward, but they can effectively stake on Polygon by buying a stake. And you have a ton of users there that we can't reach. You have tons of users on OpenSea. 20% of all Ethereum traffic is OpenSea. And those are people who already have Metamask, already have Ethereum, already have USDC. And you can put stakes right in front of them. And I think it's great for marketing.
Awesome. Ancient Earthquakes asks, HSI tokenized for land ownership. Say a community of people purchase ownership using their NFT held somewhere. I don't know if the Hedron is going to be used for doing NFTs on anything other than Hex for now. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's the only thing it can do. But who knows? Who knows what other people come up with? Or...
He also said that you took the beard spot from Feeder. So that is true. That's the beard spot right down there in the middle.
Yeah.
Good eyes. Good eyes. Ancient Earthquakes. Awesome. And then everyone keeps asking, how do we claim? How do we claim? How do we claim? So obviously people are joining the stream. The website is hedron.pro, Pro. That's correct. Mm-hmm. And you would be connecting that website to your MetaMask wallet. Is that correct?
Yeah, and it's super easy. The second you connect to MetaMask, it's going to show you a list of your stakes. And right next to each stake will be a button that says Actions. Just click on that, and you'll have the option to claim or mint, whichever you're going to do. And I think Blue has a video about it on YouTube that goes into it. It's pretty easy to pull off.
Awesome. And do you pronounce it Hedron or Hedron, Alex?
Man, it goes back and forth, but Hedron's the right answer.
Hedron.
Well, hang on. Do you say data or data?
I say data.
I don't know. I say
data.
What do you say, Alex?
I say data.
Okay. You put an R in it, Blue Bum.
Data.
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 That's awesome. Yeah, where did you guys come up with the name Hedron?
So if like a hexagon is like a two-dimensional shape, right? And turns out that an icosahedron, if you like squish it into 2 dimensions, its outward appearance is a hexagon. So that just kind of took the name Hedron off of icosahedron. And the logo is actually an icosahedron. So
There we go. Yeah, and that's your logo right here in chat, correct?
yeah.
Or your yeah.
There's
Awesome.
actually been, I think there's been polls in the Hedron chat as to what to call the smallest unit of a Hedron. So if anyone has
How many decimal
ideas.
places are in Hedron after the whole number?
9.
None. So there's just one Hedron. It's just one Hedron. It's not like a fraction of a Hedron or Hedron.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, we haven't really figured out like what do you call like the decimals, right? You know, I didn't really think it was that important, but apparently everyone else thinks it's really important. So
But you can have decimal places. You can have a 0.5 of a Hedron, 0.56 of a Hedron. And what is it, 8 decimal places or
there's 9 decimal places.
9?
Awesome. All right. So you guys okay? We don't have are you guys okay if we don't have emergency end stakes anymore? What if Richard is just getting rid of emergency end stake? That means Hedron goes to 0 and it's useless.
How'd you get rid of emergency end stakes? It's written.
I don't think that's how it works, Chris.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm confused by that question.
Hedron might get rid of emergency end stakes, but I don't even find that likely.
But then everyone's gonna have to trust it, and you have all the old ones that people are
Yeah.
gonna quit anyways. I don't think it's gonna change a whole lot.
No, I think plenty
Not
of
for
people will
15
still
years.
emergency end stakes.
Well, no one can get rid of anything. There's always going to be that option. That's the contract. It's immutable. Not even Richard can get rid of EES. Like it's always going to be an option.
Yeah, it's already in there.
Mm-hmm. And what made you decide to go with the business model of the SA, kind of imitating the OA versus what some of these other projects are doing, where they're doing a sacrifice phase to a specific location?
You know, one is I didn't really want to step on Richard's toes with the sacrifice, right? He's already doing sacrifice. He's done 2. The second one's about to end, and I'm looking at this from the perspective of people have already thrown all their dry powder into these things. They're probably not going to have a ton left. Additionally, I don't think Hedron needs it. I think by basically giving the token, by doing the token distribution model to the people who've already demonstrated that they have the most diamond of hands, like that's the point of a sacrifice, is not to make sure that people have associated value to the free stuff they get so that they don't immediately dump it. And in this case, it's like, well, here's this free token. It represents your T-shares. You should probably care about it. And I think a lot of people will. Some might not, but...
I appreciate that. I definitely prefer the sacrifice phase over the year-long adoption amplifier. Like that was tortuous, especially towards the end where you just weren't getting any hex anymore. So you're just like, it's just like a swing for the fences. I mean, looking back now, you were getting a great deal on hex.
Yeah.
But at the time, it was like, man, they were getting a horrible. What are we paying? Half a penny for hex? This is ridiculous. So that was funny. Bitfinesse is saying we could call the smallest unit of Hedron a hair of Hedron, just to solidify Bluebum's pronunciation of Hedron. Sorry, Alex, Bluebum carved it into his mind. Awesome. Let's see.
I think like some people want to call it Hedra, which I think is fine, or shards, and it's ultimately my call, but I don't mind. I don't mind either of those. So we'll see what happens.
I think shard is a terrible name. Apart from
I know you do.
Apart from like Ethereum taking it, you know what a shard is? It's very similar, very close to a shard.
Yeah, they're not good.
Very different.
Yeah. So, I like Hedra.
Yeah,
Hedra.
I like that one too.
Hedron Hedra. I think that makes sense, and it's.
And you're getting some respect for not doing the SAC because there is no SAC needed. Appreciate that. the HSI address has no admin key and is non-custodial. So if it gets a huge airdrop in the future, it'll go to the owner. It will not go to the owner. It'll go to the address of the HSI, which is not the owner of the stake.
Yeah, so if someone decides to airdrop to hex stakers and they don't take Hedron into account, they're just going to do it to only the hex contract, it's going to airdrop all those tokens to the HSI contracts within Hedron, and there's no functionality within Hedron to be able to get those airdrop tokens out. So
it's always solid with it. You can't get it out.
Yeah, so they'll just be stuck in that contract. Together. So
wait,
I played with the idea of trying to make like a generic function that would let you call a ERC20 approve for any contract, but then you get into this whole security risk of arbitrary code, and it gets really deep. So it was ultimately decided not to do that, just for everyone's safety.
Right, and because Hedron is a derivative of a B share, and a B share is a derivative of the hex price, like how do you see those working out in the future? I mean, obviously, as the T-share price goes up, the price of hex gets dragged along with it. But I would assume that the price of Hedron, because it's a derivative of a B share or attached to the value of a B share in some way, would also be pulled up through that ecosystem of the T-share, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I mean, as the share price increases, the amount of net mintable Hedron is going to decrease over time. So you're going to have that. You're going to have people burning it through liquidations. You're going to have people burning it just to make their borrowing repayments. It's going to be kind of this duality where minting kind of wants to push the price lower than the price of a B share, and then borrowing wants the price to go up above the price of a B share. So those two factors are always in kind of competition with each other. And that's why the AMR bonus is at 50%, because ideally they're well balanced.
All right, I'm going to say goodbye to everybody.
All right. Yeah, my brother's taking off here.
Thanks, guys.
See you, bro.
Thank you very much.
Enjoy your day.
He'll be in Vegas next week, so you can get more of Hex Goose Inc.
See you soon.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna have to get off here in a minute too, but I can take a couple more questions.
We still have someone still thinking that EESs are going to go away, which, that doesn't make any sense at all. We got Heinz Crypto in the house saying hi. Go ahead.
You can still emergency end stake in Hedron if you really want to. It's not going to prevent you. There's only like 2 situations where it would, and that's if you're borrowing currently. Like, it won't let you end the stake at all. Like, you've got to pay that all back first. And if it's tokenized as an NFT, it won't let you end it until you've detokenized it. But other than that, people can go emergency end stake if they want. I think people are less incentivized to do it, but I also don't see emergency end staking going away. And EES makes up like less than 1% of the daily payout anyways, except for like Hex 19. It's like the one outlier, right? But those will still happen even with Hedron. Hackers will still emergency end stake stuff.
Yeah, that's true. T-Bird says, if you've served 100 days and want to mint, do you have to mint all 100 days at the same time?
When you click mint, it's going to mint all days available.
To that point?
Yeah, to that point. So if you've served 100 days and you click mint, you will be minting 100 days when you click the button. If you serve one more day after that and click it again, you'll mint 1 day. So it's just everything available at the point, and you can watch it accumulate. Like, watching the Hedron interface every day you come back, your number will be bigger. It'll accumulate over time. So you just click mint to actually remove it from that contract.
Awesome. Now, the last time I had USCG Vet on our Tech Talk, we were talking about some of the people in the comments were saying that they were wanting the option to pay back their loans with different cryptos. And you said that you were going to check that out. Whatever come of that idea?
I don't think I ever said you could do it with other cryptos. That's basically impossible. I looked into the idea of letting other people be able to end your loan for you and make your payments for you.
Okay.
And ultimately, it came to the conclusion that it just opens the door for a lot of potential for people to get scammed. You know, like if you were to, let's say in the future, there's a bunch of Hedron interfaces like we have for Hex, right? Like we have multiple backup interfaces for Hex. If someone's to make one of those, and then those interfaces are to present you your loans, and you make a payment on one, but the interface actually switches it around behind the scenes, and you pay off the guy who created the interface's loan. You have no real way of telling that that's happened to you until after the fact. And, you know, you could argue this could happen to good accounting too, right? Someone could do this. But the difference in good accounting is you're just out the gas. And I realize it's a lot of gas. But if you're out the Hedron to repay your loan, you're in a position where now you might get liquidated because you didn't pay it. And you may not have the ability to get more. So I looked at this as just like not worth the headache of that even being a possibility.
Why would someone want to pay another person's loan other than like they're just a good Samaritan? I don't understand the game theory in that.
Good Samaritan, or maybe you know somebody who's got injured or something in their hospital and they want you to pay their loans for them. But I mean, I guess they could just give you access to the wallets. But also keep in mind, you can pay these loans in advance, right? Like you can take it and you have like 90 days until liquidation. You can immediately make 3 payments, and then it's 180 days till liquidation, right? Every payment you make is another 30 days added to like the liquidation point. So you can just keep pushing it down the road if you want.
Right. And how did you guys decide, first of all, the payment schedule of 30 days and the default of 90 days? How did you guys come to that conclusion?
They're just fairly standard terms, you know, in lending. You know, 30 people are pretty used to like if you wanted to borrow anything against anything, generally speaking, you're going to have a payment once a month. So 30 days is kind of derived from that. 90 days is just a fair term, right? You can miss up to 3 payments with no consequences. So,
and also just in terms of paying with other cryptos, like if there is a pair on Uniswap of Hedron, let's say ETH or Hedron and Hedron USDC, like if you want to pay with Uniswap, you'll be able to swap Uniswap for Hedron and then pay off that loan because Uniswap routes all those different payments. So, like,
Yeah. I really like the idea of having the 2 stakes where one stake is kind of backing up the other stake. If you've got to go to market and buy Hedron and it goes up incredibly high in price, you've got that other one where you can mint the Hedron and bring it over and satisfy that loan without, you know, having it go to auction. I like that idea of backing one up with the other. Yeah. So apparently Chris H is the biggest fan of EES as I've ever seen in my life. He's not dropping the fact that you guys are going to make the EES go extinct. I don't get it.
Happen. Yeah, I think there's a 0% chance of EES going extinct.
Listen, it's very, very difficult to predict human behavior. And it's even more difficult to predict mass human behavior. No one predicted how many people would be EESing before Hex was launched. All of the models that they made beforehand have not proved out to be at all accurate because you have to make all of these assumptions with models, and it's just very hard to assume on human behavior. So it's not going to actually change whether you can or can't EES. What effect that will have in terms of mass human behavior is to be seen.
Right. And
EES is really important in the Hex ecosystem. Like, that's the truth engine. If you're staking and you're not every day, you're not EESing, that's giving you a certain amount of power because you have delayed your gratification. If you couldn't EES, there'd be you wouldn't be delaying your gratification. You'd just be fucking locked out and you just couldn't do it.
Right.
Like the fact that you are exerting your will over that's where the psychological effect is. not from some day years ago when you decided to lock it up and you can never touch it again. It's that every day you're not doing it. And that's what's the psychological benefit. So, and you know, the OA can EES as well. The OA could start dumping hex like no one's business and kill their own project. And there's a reason that OA put that into this system. So, because it's the same for them. It's the truth engine. Like, you have to have the possibility, or you're not actually like molding behavior.
Right.
Yeah, like there's got to be a penalty for not doing what you said you would do. And I think there's a lot of people who don't do what they say they do because they see the price go up, and those people emergency end stake. And I think all of those people will still emergency end stake, whether we have Hedron or not. The only people who don't emergency end stake are the people who are honest Texicans, who find themselves on hard times and need a little extra liquidity, and Hedron provides that to them.
Yeah. What do you think about the analogy DJ Cryptomatic made? It's like a bank overdraft you pay back at the end of every month.
Yeah, that's similar. I like to talk it. I like to call it in advance because it's kind of like, hey, you're going to get this anyways if you wait. But if you really need it right now, you can have it right now, with this condition that you pay it back with a little bit of premium. And like that premium fee is not about enriching anyone. It's all burnt, but it at the end of the day enriches everyone, including yourself, because it helps pump the price. So like that's your penalty for having it now, for not delaying gratification, is that you have to pump the price for everybody else.
Yeah. Bitfinesse says buying a distressed HSI stake is like buying the dip in Hex, but without the price dipping from the dumping that always follows an EES. Mm-hmm. Depending on the circumstance, windfalls can follow these purchases. And then he says, wife changing wealth, referring to the Hedron as a secret girlfriend analogy from Team Nerd Up.
That's funny. Well, I do have to drop off here. I just wanted to stay high for a little bit. But
yes,
if you guys are still doing this in like, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes, I might come back. So.
Yeah, thank you very much for joining us. We'll see. I didn't think anyone would hang around after David Feeder took off. He's quite the heartthrob on this channel. He shows up and people go crazy. It's the beard.
It's an effect everywhere.
It's the beard. Yeah. If you leave, you've got to have someone with a beard replace you. That's the only thing I ask in that location.
Blue's kind of there. I mean, you're kind of there too.
We're working on it.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks again, Alex, for coming on, answering questions. We'll just keep rolling through this and covering some more. I'm really, like I said, I didn't know you were going live in less than 24 hours now. You know, 4 minutes less than 24 hours to be exact. I think it'll be going.
And
live.
we'll actually on the Hedron YouTube channel, we'll be doing a live stream of the countdown to the launch. So, I think an hour or two before launch, we'll get on a live and and so we'll do a little countdown to it. So you'll know when it goes. It'll be recorded for posterity. The moment when it goes live, Alex can do the countdown.
I'll put a little countdown on there. Maybe we get a ball or something, you know. All right. Well, if you guys are still doing this when I'm done eating dinner, I'll come back on. But if not,
awesome.
I'll see you on the other side of launch.
See you, bro.
Yeah, enjoy your dinner, and thanks again. And I'm going to ask you a question to Blue Bum here. When it comes to paying back the advance, how is that broken up? Is it broken up based on the length of your stake, or is it just divided evenly over so many payments? Do you know how the payments are determined?
Okay, so I've seen this a number of times, and I haven't explained it so well to people. But basically, when you get a borrow, you're getting the maximum amount of Hedron that stake will mint, right?
Mm-hmm.
Take that Hedron and you it's divided into 30. The best way it basically is divided into 30 day payment windows. So it looks at how much time left you have. It sees how many 30-day windows, that is. Each Hedron goes into that 30-day window. It works out the percentage that you pay back is whatever the hex APY, the global APY is at the time that you took that borrow, and it halves that, and then it divides it by 365, and then it times it by 30, and so that's the percentage that you pay each month on however much Hedron you have to pay back each month.
So it takes the total amount, it divides it by whatever's left on the stake, right?
It takes the total amount you've borrowed. It looks at how much time you have left. It looks and it puts that into 30-day payment windows, right? So each 30 days you have to pay back this much, and then at the end there'll be an odd number, like there'll be not as much you have to pay back because it'll be only 5 days out of the 30 or whatever. Then it takes the percentage, XAPY, times it by 365. Sorry, it divides it by 365, so per day. Then it times it by 30, so that's per year. And then it adds that percentage, which for a 555 stake ends up being around at hex APY of around 20%, ends up being around 1.6 every 30 days. And it applies that 1.6% to that window. But the easiest way to do it is just you actually go to the website and you press borrow, and it tells you everything. It tells you how much you're going to pay back each month. It tells you what percentage you're going to pay back, and all of the details are there. So rather than trying to work this out in your head, you can actually just see it, and then you can make that decision as if you wanted to. And you can play with that on the test net. So if you just want to do it now, go and have a look, and it will show you. The other way to do it is to, in the hex guide, in the Hedron guide, it shows you how much and how.
Yeah, and Hedrology 101 actually just posted the formula right here, where it takes the borrowable days divided by 30. So if you did a 5555, that'd be broken up into 185 installments that would equal 30-day installments, right? And then you can obviously accelerate it at any time and pay it off early, and you'll be paying the 1.6% fee for whatever you owe. That's calculated like simple interest, or is that just
it's just calculated
the main
on
amount of the whole amount?
On the amount that you're paying for that 30 days.
Okay.
Yeah.
So whatever that payment happens to be, you add 1.6%, and that's your fee.
Well, 1.6% is based on if we assume that the hex global APY is 40%.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so then it divides that by 2, so you get 20%. You times that by 365, divide by 365, then times by 30. Or you could just say it's 20 divided by 12, but that doesn't get you it exactly, I don't think. But that's basically it. So it's 20% divided by 12 is around 1.6. So that's how they get that rate. But it'll depend on the hex global APY at the moment that you make that borrow, and it also depends on how many days you're borrowing. No, the percentage actually, that's what the percentage will depend on. But how much you pay back will depend on how much Hedron you've borrowed, obviously.
Right, and so as the APY goes higher, your interest would also go higher, and as the APY goes lower, your interest would go lower, or
no, it's set at the moment that you make the borrow. That's the terms that you're borrowing at.
Okay, no, I'm so obviously it's locked, it's not variable. But my question is, if you were to borrow one day when the API was higher or lower, how does that affect the
if you come at a day, if there is a day when the hex APY is incredibly low, let's say the OA stakes, and on that day the hex APY drops radically for that day,
like on big payday when it staked everything.
Yeah, you could borrow on that day and you'd be paying even less interest. Yeah.
And simple interest pays interest only to the current day for the payoff function. So I think Alex is saying that it's on that day that you make the payment. Excuse me. I'm trying to decipher that one from Hedron.
Simple interest pays interest only to current day. Yeah, I'm not sure who he's replying to, whether that's something that I said or whether it's something there was a comment.
Okay, that's all right. We'll
For me,
figure out.
the easiest way, if you want to do it, is you just like you can just do the borrow and not actually sign the transaction on your MetaMask. So you can just say, I'm going to borrow, and you'll see what everything is. You'll see how much percentage you're paying each month. You'll see how much you have to borrow, how much you have to pay each 30 days. And then you can just click cancel and you can cancel it.
And you have to claim on each individual stake, not each wallet. And they're asking, is there a button where you can claim it all, or do you have to just individually do it all?
No, you have to do it individually. You have to run that claim function for each individual stake.
Someone's asking if Hedron's stakeable.
No, it's not.
No, but you can use it to provide liquidity in an exchange.
You could use it to provide liquidity. Yeah.
Yeah, you could do
that's
that.
Not staking though. That's providing liquidity, and you can also use it to buy liquidated hex stakes.
Right. And Dingo Wolf says Blue Bum is the man.
Cheers, Dingo.
And then Alex is answering to this stuff. So if you use the payoff function, you pay interest only to the current day. If you make a regular payment, it always charges the interest, and both are simple interest. So it's not, so it's based on your.
Oh, sorry. So yeah, so
current...
the payoff function is paying off the whole borrow. So that's what the difference is there. Payoff function is paying off the whole borrow, and just a payment is just a regular payment. So when you pay off the whole borrow, you're not paying for interest. Like if you take the loan off a 15-year stake and then you pay it back after a month, you're not paying all of the interest for all of that 15 years. You're just paying it for up until when you have it. And you're muted.
Yeah. And Hedron, when you stake on Hedron, you get paid in Hedron for interest versus Hex. Am I correct? No, you don't stake Hedron. You don't get paid Hedron.
You stake Hex through the You can stake Hex through the Hedron contract if you want to make a new stake. Yeah. And with that, you get these other options of tokenizing and borrowing. But for all your native stakes, all you can do is claim or mint.
Right. Are there any aspects or game theory that most people don't think about, other than those that are inside of the Hedron Telegram chat? Any deep dark stuff that most people are missing, or even simple things that people could think about when doing this?
Yeah, there's lots of stuff that people have been kind of like toying around with. One of them is just to get 2 HSIs, borrow on one, and have the ability to pay off on that. But you want to do that at a time when the price of Hedron is quite high relative to Hex. And what you could do in that case is, if you think Hedron is high and Hex is low at any given time, and that's very much a judgment, so it's not necessarily the smartest decision to make, but if you think that, and then you have 2 HSI stakes, you borrow on one, you get that Hedron, you turn it into Hex, you make a new stake, right? And then you actually you can borrow from that one, turn that into Hex and make it on a new stake. And you can do that a few times, always having that extra stake with a 10x bonus to be able to pay, because you can only borrow at the base rate, but you can mint if it's with a 10x bonus. And if you have some that you're not paying off in time, you just pay one off and either sell it as an NFT so that you can convert it into Hedron to pay back or whatever, or you can. There's going to be ways that people manage these things, but you could leverage up to an extent. And as long as you have that HSI, which can always mint the Hedron, so you're not having to go to market to buy the Hedron and be caught out by the market, you could leverage up relatively, pretty safely, really. And if you're making Hex stakes, you're always going to be able to borrow on those. And so you could especially if you get onto this now and you do it during, so there's that's a potential tactic.
So you're saying that if your backup stake has the 10x bonus and you're forced to mint that Hedron, to cover the payments of the subsequent HSIs that have the advance function where they've borrowed the advance, then you can always mint those 10x, but you can't always get an advance on the 10x, right?
Yeah, you can only get the advance. You can only get at the 1x. Not even the one. There's no bonus because the 10x is an actual bonus on top of what you can mint, right? So you can only borrow at that base rate. But if you've got a claim, a bonus claim of a 10x bonus on top of it, whenever you mint from that, you're going to be minting plus the 10x bonus. So you're going to kind of be minting an 11x. So yeah, you could leverage up knowing that you always have Hedron that you could mint. Now, if you're doing this on Ethereum, it's always going to cost you gas to do any of these functions. So you have to take that into consideration as well. But on Pulse, I think we might see people probably doing that because you could just buy a whole lot of hex stakes and have whole lot of, maximum length hex stakes. And that's one option. There's also kind of all sorts of, as I said, whale games that people have been theorizing. Like, what if these whales make a stake purposely so to let it not make a payment in the 90 days? So especially early on. So then if everyone's got all this Hedron and these hex stakes are up, people are going to be bidding on them. So that's going to get that sort of bidding market going. They're probably going to use a whole lot of Hedron to buy those stakes. All of that Hedron gets burnt. So a whale might play that game knowing that they're keeping a whole lot of Hedron here, that when the price gets high enough, they'll either, I don't know, and maybe they're providing liquidity the whole time. The people are doing that or something like that. And so there's a few games like that. There's one other idea people have had is that you create 2 HSI stakes, but the one with the 10x bonus, you make a smaller stake so that the payment equals that other stake. So that's really kind of, I'm not so sure on that tactic, but so that means that you borrow on that one. And then, the thing is, for a lot of us who already have hex stakes, we don't really even need to borrow though. It's like,
right.
If you want to play that game or those games, you can to an extent, but we may as well just claim and sit back and see what happens to the price, maybe provide liquidity. And you don't need to do much. And if it goes up, it goes up. And if there'll be a price for Hedron. And, I'm not sure what will happen to that price, but you don't really need to take any risks with it all. You don't even need to pay attention to it too much. You can just claim and then just kick back and see what happens.
Yeah, I see Hedron as a gift, just this generous windfall opportunity to play around with some more game theory and hold, just practice delayed gratification for a long time. And as things develop, it'll be really interesting. Chris H asks, is Hedron deflationary? And the answer is no, not really.
It's not. It's inflationary, but like Bitcoin, the inflation over time will be deflationary because apart from Hedron being burnt from the borrowing or the auctions, because the price of B shares will go up over time in terms of US dollars, but also in terms of HEX, because the way that the HEX contract works is that the T-share rate is ratcheting up every single day, which is making it harder and harder to get T-shares. And, soon we're going to...
Eventually harder to be B shares, then harder
B
to
shares,
get
M shares.
And then K shares.
And they are directly proportional to how much Hedron you can mint. So Alex has said before, it was his design intention for the price of Hedron to equal a B share divided by the average amount of days for a stake. So at the moment, I think that works out to be 0.0015 or something like that. So 0.0015 of a cent. That's its design intention. But at the start, there's going to be a lot of inflation. So I'm not sure how long it will take to get to that price, or if it ever does get to that price, or if it ever moves over that price.
Well, and as crazy as things go when it goes live, when Pulse Chain goes live, we're going to have another set of turbulence and crazy market volatility as the market figures out the price people are willing to pay for each of these tokens too. So it's going to be some fun, wild water on the seas, so to speak. The DJ Cryptomatic was confused about the difference between claiming and minting. Claiming is like running good accounting, and minting is like ending a stake and minting your hex, in hex speak, right? Will I be able?
So DJ, claiming just attaches the 10x bonus. You're not getting any Hedron directly from the claim function. You have to mint in order to actually get Hedron tokens.
Yeah.
And so claiming just gives you that bonus. It locks in that bonus so that when you decide to mint, you're getting the bonus.
Right. And people are answering questions, and everyone's been really great in the chat today. They've answered a lot of great questions. And a lot of them we haven't been caught up. I haven't kept up with the chat, but when I get around to answering a question, usually someone in the chat has already answered that question, whether it's Alex or one of the other people from the community. So we've gone about 2 hours now. I can't thank you enough for joining me, Blue Bum. You've been very helpful in explaining a lot of what's going on. I really want to get the word out about the 10x bonus for the hexagons, so the people that wanted to spend the fee could go and claim or mint their Hedron, starting tomorrow. And I think this is going to be a lot of fun to see how the Hedron community and game theory and the hex interact. It's going to be a lot of fun. First of all, where can people find you and follow you? And then, if you could, list all of the resources for Hedron to send people to claim and learn about and get all their answers.
Yeah, I'm on Twitter. Bluebum is the man. I'm on Telegram at Bluebum. And the Hedron chat is t.me/Hedron crypto. That's enough, I think.
And then the website is hedron.pro.
Hedron.pro's website. Yeah. There's tons of information. Like if you call, there's in the Telegram, there's the pastor you can call to get answers to all loads of questions. There's a whole lot of people there. If you want more advanced kind of discussions about strategies and tactics, there's a Hedronologists channel as well on Telegram. But people also, the Hedron chats, people have been discussing stuff and like it's with anything, go and do your own research. Find out, have understanding. Once you have understanding, you'll be able to make all these decisions. And at the very simplest level, I would claim, you know what I mean? It's just like claim that 10x bonus, and you can like actually take the time to learn it. You know what I mean? And
you don't have to figure out your strategy today. You can hit claim, secure your bonus, and then, like you said, start doing your homework, dig in the weeds and stuff. I know there's going to be a lot of talk in Vegas next week about all of this. Like there's going to be a lot of people sitting down and game planning and explaining Hedron to the other hexagons. You really don't have a chance to look into all the projects coming out, to be honest. You could, but it would take all your time. So, I'm really, really excited to see the hexagons in Vegas next week and talk about awesome stuff like this in person.
And like I'm going to be in Vegas. I'm escaping Australia, so I'm looking forward to getting there, getting out of Oz for a bit, and I'm going to be in Vegas. I wrote to Matty offering to speak at the conference. I haven't heard back from him, so that offer is there. But I'll be hanging around, and if people want to ask me questions, then I'll be really cool to meet everyone. I'm looking forward to that, meeting you, X-Ray, and it's going to be really fun.
For sure. It's going to be great. And you can follow me, Hexray Vision, basically everywhere, YouTube, Facebook, even Instagram now. I'm on there mostly, for the beautiful pictures that I'm going to try catfishing young men into sending me money. But show up, subscribe and like my YouTube channel. That goes a long way because we're trying to get this kind of information out to as many people as possible, especially with the launch of Pulse and Pulse Chain. So it's great. So I appreciate all of the people showing up, and appreciate you again for showing up, Blue Bun. You're awesome. I can't wait to see you. So we'll probably, I'll stream hopefully this weekend if I get some more time. But I'm really glad we got on here, and I have some links and things to send my onboards and friends and family to help them claim their Hedron, because I'm definitely going to encourage them to take advantage of claim right now, because in crypto you never know what a token's going to be worth in the future. So it's beautiful, and I really appreciate all the work Alex and the community's been putting in, and the fact that they're everything that they're trying to do, in my opinion, and from what I've seen, is supporting and pushing the price of Hex up and supporting the Hexkin community. So with that being said, thank you very much. Everyone have a wonderful evening, and we'll see you guys soon. Thanks.
Yep. See everyone.
Bye.
Cheers.